Hello, welcome to Oneana for Equality's first quarterly training, Confronting Discrimination with Our Peers and Coworkers. I'm Devin Accardo, Vice President and co-founder. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce you to the rest of our board. President and founder Lauren Bailey, our Secretary and Events Planner, Caitlin Mann, Treasurer and co-founder Keisha Genzardi, Junior Board Supervisor Hannah Baskin, and our City Liaison Katie Lapare-Shu. I'd also like to give a special thank you to Tanika Rosario for helping with today's training. Oneana for Equality is a 501c3 nonprofit organization founded by a group of Oneana High School alumni with the goal of improving the experiences of current and future students in the Oneana City School District, particularly concerning issues of race and equality. You can learn more about our mission and initiatives on our website, oneanafореquality.org. So today we're going to be talking about some methods for confronting racism and other forms of bias and discrimination in our classrooms, workplaces, and other areas of life. We're going to be looking at 3 different scenarios, and for each one, we'll talk about some possible approaches and discuss the possible harms and benefits of each type of approach. Obviously, these are just 3 examples of the types of discrimination that people may face based on their race, religion, gender identity, and more. And it can be hard to know how to respond in the moment when you experience or witness this type of interaction. So we hope that this training will begin to build a framework and provide you with some tools to learn how to be a more effective advocate, ally, and activist. So let's take a look at our first scenario.
Miss Jones' 8th grade history class was watching a movie during 3rd period. The movie was about a young Asian girl and her family and how they fled their home country for a better life. In this class, there was an Asian student by the name of Sophie. During the movie, Sophie noticed a group of kids in the back of the classroom pulling their eyes to give them a more almond shape and speaking in racist accents and making up words. One of the students, Dylan, would be having a huge birthday party that weekend. Sophie wanted to speak up, but did not want to get uninvited to Dylan's birthday party. She starts to cry. Miss Jones, with lights down in the classroom behind her desk among 50 students, did not see the specific incident, but noticed that Sophie was visibly upset. Sophie has now gone home and told her parents what happened.
So for this scenario, we want you to imagine that you are one of Sophie's classmates. So let's look at a few possible roles that another student in the class might play.
You observe the students in the back of the class and notice that Sophie is visibly upset. Options. Do nothing. This is the wrong thing to do. Silence equals violence. Say something to Sophie. Go over to Sophie and ask if she's okay. Sophie says yes, she's fine because she doesn't want to make a scene. You say okay and that's it. You have expressed concern for her, but not really addressed the issue. Say something to the teacher. After class, you go to the teacher and let her know what happened. The teacher says thank you for letting me know. The teacher now knows what happened, but wasn't able to interfere at the right time.
Say something to the students in the back. This gives you the opportunity to educate them on anti-racism. It also makes Sophie feel supported and advocated for, and others in the classroom will be able to learn from your example. This course of action can be difficult, scary, and uncomfortable, but it is a great way of exhibiting allyship. Here are some do's and don'ts for engaging in this type of conversation.
Do. Call out students and tell them their behavior is not cool. Don't. Call attention to the student who has been affected. Do. Raise counter narratives and present facts to help change that person's point of view.
And I actually have one more don't to add here. Don't be afraid of getting uninvited to Dylan's birthday party. If he's going to uninvite you for standing up against racism, then Dylan's not a friend you need to be hanging out with. So we talked about the importance of calling out racism and of taking the opportunity to educate students who are engaging in racist behavior. We also talked about the importance of making Sophie feel supported, although it's also important to note that even if there had not been an Asian student in the class at the time, it would still be important to call that behavior out. Racism is still racism, even if it's not done in the presence of the group that it's disparaging. And the more often people get away with it without being called out, the more they'll learn that that's acceptable behavior. Another takeaway here is the importance of making sure that the teacher knows what happened, even if it's not until after the class ends. If nothing else, this information helps the teacher or teachers identify patterns if similar incidents happen with the same students multiple times. It also means that later, if Sophie's parents report the incident to the school administration, the teacher can corroborate Sophie's story, and she knows that you had witnessed the event as well, and that might be important later. So now let's take a look at our second scenario where we have 3 hospital employees, Diana, Jenn, and Corey.
Jenn, a technician at a hospital, approaches her coworker Corey and says to Nurse Diana, "She is doing a great job, isn't she?" Corey says, "Thank you so much, but remember my pronouns are they, them, and their." Jenn says, "Oh, so you're that transgender diversity hire," looking at Corey.
Corey knows that their identity does not define their ability to do their job, and wants their coworkers to understand this too. Diana has used Corey's correct pronouns in the past, and she may not have realized that she slipped up, so Corey wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt by gently reminding her. But Jenn's comments indicate a deeper misunderstanding of and bias against trans people. Diana has been doing her best to get Corey's pronouns correct, but realizes that she still has some work to do. She appreciates Corey's reminders because they help her to do better. But she's noticed that Corey has told Jenn about their pronouns several times, and that Jenn continues to disregard their requests to respect their pronouns. Jenn has always seen Corey as a woman and has a hard time wrapping her mind around the idea of someone being non-binary. The first time she had ever heard the term transgender was this year. She feels like she's being attacked and that Corey should just relax. It's not that big a deal. Now, let's look at some possible ways that Corey can respond.
Corey redirects the conversation, avoiding the statement.
Redirection is an effective tactic that HR suggests, but there must be more action after the redirect. It puts an end to the immediate interaction, but does not address the long-term problem.
Corey gets verbally aggressive with Jenn.
Even though Jenn is wrong for how she addresses Corey's pronouns, this is not an effective way to invite people to the table. If Jenn feels attacked, she's not likely to learn anything from the interaction and may just dig her heels in deeper. Not to mention, Jenn could potentially file a harassment complaint against Corey due to this.
Corey calmly, quickly, and directly states, "I am sure you are unaware of this, but this is extremely offensive to say to anyone. I have informed you of my pronouns many times, and I ask that you respect them."
This is a pretty good option. It diffuses the situation, but also calls the unacceptable action out. Corey clearly identifies the harm that Jenn's words are causing and asks for an end to the harmful behavior. So these are some possible courses of action for Corey, although an even better course of action would not be for Corey to do anything at all, but rather for Diana to step in. She could say something like, "Jenn, I know it can be difficult to understand at first, but let's both do our best to respect Corey's pronouns. I was confused about it at first too, and I've been practicing, and I realized that Corey is a valued member of our team and colleague, regardless of their gender, and I want to show them the respect that they deserve. I'm obviously still working on it too, but maybe you and I can practice together later and work on getting better at it." This is a great option because A, Diana is acknowledging that she used to think similarly to Jenn before she learned better and showing her a path that she can take. B, she's offering to help Jenn learn and practice getting Corey's pronouns right. And C, by stepping in, Diana is taking the burden off of the harmed person to educate the offending person. Corey should not have to be responsible for teaching every single person they meet about gender identity and pronouns. That's what allies are for. The more work allies put into these types of conversations and education, the less emotional labor marginalized people have to do themselves. So now let's take a look at our last scenario.
A class of high school seniors are on their senior trip to Washington, D.C. Since it was a warm day, the windows on the bus were open. Mariama begins to notice that her hijab is slightly blowing into the aisle due to the wind. Ben, who is sitting behind Mariama, begins to tug on her hijab and says, "Your head rag keeps hitting me in the face." Other students begin to laugh. Mariama shrieks, "Stop pulling on my hijab."
Mariama has clearly stated that Ben has crossed a boundary and she is requesting that he stop. This is a clear form of communication, but it is often not enough.
None of the teachers seem to notice the interaction, but the bus driver, Miss Sarah, does. Miss Sarah, seeing that the teachers are not responding, yells from behind the wheel for Ben to stop.
Like Mariama's response, this is not enough. In addition, Miss Sarah can put the group of students, teachers, and herself at risk by not focusing on the road.
Miss Sarah carefully pulls the bus to the side of the road and informs the teachers that Ben has been putting on Mariama's hijab for a few miles. Miss Sarah, not having a lot of knowledge of Islam, states that she knows this is not only disrespectful to Mariama's religion, but a violation of her personal space. How should the acting teacher respond?
Option 1. The teacher suggests closing the windows.
This puts an end to the physical part of the problem. Ben is no longer disturbed by Mariama's hijab, but this does not address or rectify Ben's actions and Mariama's pleas that he stop. Many other students are likely to suffer as it was a warm and sunny day.
Option 2. The teacher says, Ben, please stop pulling on Mariama's hijab.
This again is not effective enough. The offending student is not only crossing a religious boundary, but the hijab is pinned to Mariama, which can cause an injury. Also, Ben is likely to continue pulling on her hijab if it is blowing in his face. More importantly, Ben should be disciplined for his actions.
Option 3. The nearest teacher reassigns Ben to sit with her. Not only does she discuss with him the importance of respecting Mariama's religious rights and beliefs, but informs him that physically harming other students puts him at risk of not participating in the day's activities. She then checks in with Mariama and asks if she needs any help securing her hijab.
This is the best option. Not only is Ben moved away from Mariama, he is educated and further disciplined. Mariama is not punished for something she cannot help and is offered help to make her more comfortable. Mariama may feel shamed by this interaction, but different than scenario 1, there was physical harm at play.
So you may have noticed that there's not a scenario presented where Mariama doesn't leave feeling shamed in some way. That's because shame is often a natural result when these types of things happen. Unfortunately, no matter how quickly or thoroughly we address it, it can and will leave scars on those who are involved. That's why Oneana for Equality is fighting hard to give people in the community the power to stop these things before they happen. We believe that increased education, accountability, and modeling inclusive behavior can prevent much of the trauma that people in marginalized communities endure. To further educate yourself on these issues, you can check out the reading list and other links listed on the resources page of our website. Thank you so much for joining us for this training. We hope that it's given you some things to think about and some tools for you to use next time you encounter discrimination in the classroom or workplace. I'd like to give one more thank you to our board and also a big thank you to everyone who has supported us by becoming a member. If you've not become a member yet, you can learn more about that on our website, oneanafореquality.org. And if you'd like one of these sweet Oneana for Equality t-shirts like I have on, they're available on our website as well. Please be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram to hear more about future events and initiatives, or you can always email us and ask to be put on our mailing list. And also feel free to reach out with any questions, comments, or ideas that you have for us. Once again, you can learn more about Oneana for Equality, our team and mission on oneanafореquality.org. Thank you.